On this video, I am continuing a harmony of the Gospels, and right now we worked our way up to the section where we have another Sabbath incident where the disciples pluck grain on the Sabbath, and there's conflict with the religious leaders at this time. So I'm reading in the book of Matthew, chapter 12, 1 to 8. I'm going to be reading it in Greek, phrase by phrase, followed by an English translation with commentary. Matthew 12, 1 to 8. In a keno to Cairo, επορεύθε ha Jesus, toi Sabbasin, diaton sporimon, hoi de mathetai autou, epennasan kai erxanta tenein stakuas kai esthein. That is, at that time, Jesus went uh, on the Sabbath through the grain fields, and his disciples were hungry, or became hungry, and began to pluck the heads of the grain and to eat them. Notice it's on the Sabbath, and the idea is they're not only harvesting, but in a sense, they're putting into barns and storing. This might have been the idea that the Pharisees were thinking about. I remember in seminary that was brought out, and it sort of amazed me how people could become so legalistic at that point. But legalism has been around a long time. So we move on, verse 2. Hoi de Pharisaioi idantes epan auto, idu hoi mathetaisu poiusin ha u existen poiein in sabbato. And the Pharisees, when they saw, said to him, Behold, your disciples are doing that which is not lawful on the Sabbath. And if the idea they're working and they're storing into barns, if that is the idea, their thought is they're working. They should not be doing anything on the Sabbath. So Jesus replies, Ha de penaltois, and Jesus said to them, Ut enegnote tiapoisen David hate epenasen kai hoi met autu. Have you not read what David did when he was hungry and those that were with him? Again, in verse 3, we're having an appeal to the Hebrew Bible and what David did when he was hungry and how he took and ate on the Sabbath and those that were with him. So Jesus is going back to the Hebrew Bible to make an appeal at this point that we have a reference that can be supported in 1 Samuel 21, 1 to 6 of what David did and those who were with him. And so we move on in the next phrase. Pos eseothen eis ton oikon tu theou, kai tus artus tes prathesaos ephagon, ha uk exan ein autophagein udetois met autou, e metois arusin manois. How he entered, going back to David, it's how he entered into the house of God and ate the bread of the presence, which was only reserved for the priest. So it's not that he broke a Sabbath, but it's similar, that he ate the bread, which was basically to be reserved for the priest, the showbread. And notice, it was not lawful. He ate the bread of the presence, which was not lawful for him to eat, nor for those who were with him, but for only the priest. In other words, he ate what would have been forbidden him. And so Jesus, going back to what I said, is using an analogy that they broke what was thought to be something you should not do. And Christ then is exposing what the religious leaders, the Pharisees, are saying about what his disciples and what he's doing. So in verse 5, E uk eneknote intonamo hate tois sabasin hoi heres into hero ta sabatan bebelusin kai anatioi asin. That is, have you not read in the law how on the Sabbath, now he's coming back to the Sabbath, how on the Sabbath the priests in the temple are profaning the Sabbath and are without guilt, are blameless. In other words, he's appealing back to what the priests on the Sabbath would do in doing that which would be, in the eyes of the Pharisees, profaning the law. They're doing that which is unlawful, according to how the religious leaders would have interpreted the Hebrew Bible or the Old Testament. So, having said that, notice Jesus then comes and focuses on how he wants mercy and not sacrifice. So I'm going to continue in the next verse, verse 6. Dego de humen hate tu heru meitsan estin hode. For I'm saying to you that a greater than the temple is here. And if this could be done in the temple, a greater than the temple is here. And then it said, if you had known what it means then, e de egno ke te estin, if you would have known what this is, heleas thelo kai u thusian, I want mercy and not sacrifice, then you would not have condemned the guiltless. Uhan katadik kasete tus anaitius, you would not have condemned those that were guiltless. So Jesus is defending what the apostles had done in eating on the Sabbath. And furthermore, he said, the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath. And I made the Sabbath for humankind, not humankind for the Sabbath. So verse 8, Kyrios gar estin tu sabbatu ha huias tu anthropu. For the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath. In other words, I've made the Sabbath for humankind, not the other way around. And so Jesus, at this point, is saying the Sabbath is not made to be something so legalistic as you've made it. And he's appealing to himself as having authority over the Sabbath. And so this debate is just going to intensify and become more heated at this point in the life of our Lord, probably in Galilee. On the way back to Jerusalem, it is felt that this is going on. So, having read that, let me stop, having looked at the Greek, and I want to go back and read it all the way through the harmony, Mark and Luke, as well as Matthew, and make comment as I do again.